Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media, St. Louis's home for arts, education, and culture.
The Sheldon's really excited to share this group of artists with the community.
You are able to test more rapidly. You can contain the infections.
There's no way to describe it. You have to experience it.
Today on Spotlight, find out about new technology being created at WashU that could prevent the next pandemic. Plus, from outdoor paintings with beautiful colors to photos of unidentified people, go inside the winter-spring exhibits. And then a sport designed for people who are blind or have low sight. But first, a heartwarming story about women in messy and sometimes hilarious situations. It's Sunday and you're watching the multiple Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
How late is too late to launch a new career? In this video, author Amy Popel talks about publishing her first book at age 50 and how her newest novel, The Sweet Spot, comedically celebrates all the women who take control of the twists, turns, thrills, and spills of life.
It features 3 women of very different ages who don't know each other at all at the outset of the book, but very quickly come to find that they have every reason in the world to despise each other and ultimately have to sort of come together when a child that does not belong to any of them ends up in their care. And it's a comedy for sure. I love reading all kinds of books. I love mysteries. I love sad books. But what I bring to fiction, or what I try to bring to fiction, is humor. So it's definitely a comedic look at a family in a big falling apart house, right, and the neighbors and how their different stories all come together.
Can we talk a little bit about Melinda?
Yes.
So as I was reading it, I thought, oh my goodness, she must have been so fun to write. So Melinda's scorned woman,
yes,
and she does basically everything that any scorned woman probably has wanted to do.
Yes.
She does it.
And she actually does it.
Yeah.
Melinda's my age, and at this point I have so many dear, wonderful friends. We've all been through a lot of things. We've all been through a lot of challenges, wonderful experiences, just different kinds of hardships. And one thing I've been noticing in myself and in them is how much rage we have. And I think rage is really fun to write about and fun to read about because, like you said, some people might want to do some of the things Melinda does, but we get to just watch her do it because we don't actually want to act that way. I really wanted to give this scorned character a chance to pull herself together, to regroup, to realize that maybe the rage and revenge aren't helping, aren't making her feel any better. And although her ex-husband may deserve it, spending all of her energy on that isn't helping her. Mm-hmm. And I just loved giving her a new story and some hope for her future and not changing. I never like my characters to change personalities, but I do like them to come out in a better, hopefully happier place.
So where did this idea come from? How did this begin?
So it really did begin with Melinda. It really did begin with my own feeling of reaching my age and realizing how good women are at so many things and how strong women are and how able women are to reinvent themselves, sometimes in the face of hardship and sometimes just because of life circumstances. And I'm sort of endlessly fascinated by that. And I just sort of want to pat women on the back for their, you become a mother and everything changes and you have to adapt to that. And I'm just sort of blown away with how well women do that.
You came to writing. Yeah. Your first book was published when you were 50?
50 years old. Yeah, this is a brand new career for me.
But what's great is, you have incredible life experiences that you can use,
yes,
right?
Yes. I tell people all the time, whenever somebody says at an event, I'm thinking of writing a book, is it too late? I think quite the opposite for writing. I think the more crazy jobs you've had, funny people you've met, interesting experiences you've had, weird places that you've moved to, any of that just adds to the well you can draw from when it comes to writing.
To find out why she had to write this book all over after she already finished it, Watch the full interview at hecmedia.org. Getting a statue ready for opening day later on Spotlight.
COVID-19 tests are common, but early detection has its issues. Srikanth Singamanini, professor of mechanical engineering and material science at Washington University in St. Louis, says standard tests are not able to detect diseases with high sensitivity at the early stage of disease progression.
We came up with a nanoparticle that is exceptionally bright compared to the nanoparticles that are being used today in those tests.
Singamanini's lab is focused on substantially improving tests for a wide range of viral and bacterial infections, as well as other diseases.
In some cases, we need a urine sample. In some cases, it can be a swab sample or can be a finger prick. Color of the line.
His research team set out to develop a new point-of-care diagnostic test for clinicians. And the research shows this test is 1,000 times more sensitive than conventional rapid tests. The hope is for the technology to cheaply and rapidly test for a range of diseases without the delay and expense of sending samples to a lab.
Our hypothesis is that with plasmonic flows, the new nanoparticles that we have developed, we can actually create a test that is exceptionally sensitive and can be used in a wide variety of diseases or pathological conditions.
In a standard test, proteins and bodily fluids can be captured by labeled antibodies on the yellow pad. But unlike the standard test, the labels in the Singamanini lab are plasmonic fluorescents. These are ultra-bright, fluorescent nano labels that are 1,000 times more sensitive with clear results that show a visual color in 20 minutes. It was put to the test when COVID was at its peak.
The particle that we have amplifies the fluorescence by as much as like 10,000 times, significantly increase the sensitivity of the test.
The ultra-bright particles can be imaged with a simple handheld device to quantify the amount of protein present. It can tell doctors if a patient needs close monitoring.
Can actually perform this in the doctor's office. Now you're not just asking the question of whether or not it is present, but you're asking the question of what is the concentration to be able to make a clinical decision based on that concentration.
Doctors would have answers in 20 minutes instead of sending a test to a lab and waiting. The team is working towards having one test strip to test for more than one disease.
These are proteins that could be indicative of how your body is responding, what's making you sick, not just what's in your body. Or they could be proteins that are shed by viruses or bacteria themselves.
For example, one test for COVID, flu, and strep throat.
Strategically choosing the right set of analytes and packing them onto one strip, I think that's the way to go. It would be great if you can actually tell what specific strain of the bacteria is getting detected on this test to choose the right antibiotic to treat these diseases.
Currently in the lab, PhD students are applying the technology to bacteria for the first time. In this case, gonorrhea testing. When the sexually transmitted disease goes untreated, gonorrhea can cause serious and permanent health problems. This would offer early detection.
For example, even there's only one single bacteria, we can still detect it.
Testing at a low cost.
For like $3 or $4. The gold standard is PCR-based assays, which takes a lot of time. $60 for one test.
In many of the developing countries, there is a very strong need for rapid tests and inexpensive tests that can be deployed in the point of care or in the resource-limited settings.
Beyond infectious diseases, the plans are to advance the technology for a variety of conditions.
For example, kidney diseases. For people to check routinely some of the protein biomarkers or small molecules, metabolites associated with kidney diseases, so there's a better way of actually tracking the disease.
Another big one is detection of TBIs, traumatic brain injuries.
For example, in the battlefield, can you actually deploy a simple test? After the blast, say for example, you want to quickly monitor the protein biomarkers and be able to tell whether there is a brain injury that occurred.
Another application would be to use the advancement in sports medicine to test athletes with head injuries.
Being able to measure those sensitively in the field at the right time can make a big difference.
Singamanini says the technology can possibly prevent the next pandemic.
And you actually are able to test more rapidly, you can contain the infections and hopefully you can keep it to the smallest possible geographical area and then prevent from spreading.
He says commercialization is likely within the next 2 years.
For original programming and award-winning content, explore hecmedia.org. Find all of your favorite genres, including the arts and sciences. Go in-depth with the latest research. Get insight into new technologies. Learn about breakthrough discoveries. Find it all in one place. Explore hecmedia.org.
Kwame Alexander, Keeping Poetry Cool. This story brought to you by Educate.Today.
The book is about a boy who loves soccer and hates reading, likes a girl named April, is getting bullied, having some problems at home, and meets a librarian who changes his life around.
I mean, what you just described could be a massive book.
Sure.
But it is super easy to read, and that has a lot to do with the format, which is poetry. Yeah.
That's the beauty of poetry. You can just take so many different things, this sort of cornucopia or poetry of things, and sort of put them in this big gumbo pot. I'm mixing all kinds of metaphors here, sorry. And then just distill them down to this beautiful, sort of wonderful, delicious thing that makes us feel something, but doesn't overpower us. And I think that's what poetry does.
It's a book of poetry, so you think, okay, they're going to be standalone poems. But it tells an in-depth story easily.
It's a novel. A novel. And I had to remember that when I was writing it, because to write a book of poems is one thing. You want each poem to stand up on a page and be good and be rhythmic, but to write a novel is to tell a beginning, a middle, and an end, to tell a complete story. And I just happened to try to do both of those things, which was really tough and a lot of fun.
I would imagine when you tell a 10-year-old boy, here's a book of poetry. Enjoy.
Right.
You probably get some.
I've heard a lot of librarians and teachers say that. You know, we tell a boy, look, here's a book for you to check out. And they see the basketball or the soccer on the front, and they say, okay, and then they open it and they see poems, and they're like, what? And they read the first poem and they're hooked. And I think that's the beauty of it, that's the power of it. That's the power of poetry. It can connect us all. It can, you know, it's so short. There's a lot of white space. You know, so it doesn't make, the boys in particular, but kids in general, it doesn't make them feel intimidated by the reading process, and they build confidence. You want kids to get engaged in reading, try poetry. I say it all the time.
Celebrate April as Poetry Month in your classroom by checking out the entire interview with Kwame and other cool videos with poets at Educate.Today.
Looking for St. Louis-centric videos to use in your classroom? Check out our educational resources at Educate.Today.
Here at the Sheldon, we have 5 new exhibits for the spring, and they range from painting, printmaking, photography, and sculpture. When you enter the second floor galleries, you will enter into the Bellwether, where we have Wallace Herndon Smith paired with 2 local painters, Sarah Lawrence and Misato Pang. And the focus is plein air painting, so painting outdoors, which Wallace Herndon Smith loved and did all his life. Sarah Lawrence focuses on park scenes and recognizable buildings with beautiful colors. Misato Pang has lush greens of landscapes and of grasses and trees. It's really a lush, moody atmosphere she creates. As we progress, you will see Bill Stieber's photography. The exhibit's titled Hill Country Spirits. Bill focuses on Mississippi blues musicians. He's been doing this for over 30 years and has really concentrated on juke joints and fife and drum festivals. Also included in Bill's exhibit is a soundtrack selected by Bill where it alternates from hill blues music to fife and drum festival music. So you get a really good sensory of the sound and the visuals of these 2 environments. In this gallery, we feature Patrick Earl Hammy, his body of work called I Am the Night. Patrick has focused on images from postcards of lynchings from the 30s to 40s and has created this abstract kind of ink blot pattern that I felt was very important to have here for current day situations that keep occurring. But the exhibit, as you go through, ends on a very joyful note. It's of Soul Train prints and artists performing, people dancing, kind of reflecting Patrick's childhood memories of a safe area at home to watch this and just to embrace music and be safe. The last exhibit you'll see in our main galleries is a BFA exhibition with 3 students, Evan O'Neill from SIU Edwardsville, Kaylin Hill from University of Missouri, and Sarah Loving from Webster University. And it's a great body of work from these 3 students. In our downstairs gallery, we are featuring Alana N. Purnell and her body of work called Our Mother's Gardens. The work is focused on a collection of 800 unidentified historical photographs of Black women that she is reclaiming and trying to do research to locate the families of these women and find their identities. So it's a very long-term project that she has just started. The Sheldon's really excited to share this group of artists with the community, and I hope you can come out and see the exhibits. They will be up through May the 6th, and you can find more information on our website at www.thesheldon.org.
Scan the QR code on your screen to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Listen to this crowd. Here's the 2-2 pitch. He swings.
The significance of the statue is it's tied to a statue of Adam Wainwright, which is in Nanjing, China. Adam's throwing a pitch to a batter, Chinese batter in St. Louis, permanently connecting the 2 cities as sister cities.
Over the past decades, Nanjing and St. Louis have become a good example. As a first pair of sister city relations between our 2 countries. So in the past, we are very proud of it, and in the future, we have high hopes for more prosperous relations.
And that's a winner! A winner!
Follow us on social media for more shorts like this one.
I was about 5 years old when I lost my vision. I have an inherited genetic retinal disease.
I was born with congenital cataracts.
I played baseball in 1st grade and all the way up until 8th grade. That's when I started noticing my vision was getting worse, to where if a ball was hit to me, I would see 3 balls at one time. So, and of course the coach would always tell you, get the one in the middle, which doesn't work all the time. So I actually told my parents I just couldn't play no more, I couldn't see, so I pulled myself out.
I'd never been able to play on a team sport before, anything that involves the ball. I was going to a school for the blind, a vocational rehab school, and I met a friend there. He told me about beat baseball. He encouraged me to play it and come try it out. And when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, baseball for blind people, that sounds cute. That sounds like, I didn't think it would be very competitive or it didn't sound like it was for me. But then he encouraged me to go out to a practice and tried it. So I came and tried it, and I saw how competitive it was and how fun it was, and it blew my mind and changed everything. So ever since that practice, I found a team and I've been playing ever since.
I learned about beat ball in 2010 through my job, Lighthouse for the Blind. So we have a team and we played through the Mind's Eye tournament, and that's where I was introduced to it.
Growing up, really what I wanted to do more than anything was play baseball. I think I was in high school. I was at a school for the blind, and I got to attend like a demonstration of beat baseball, so I got exposed to it then.
Beat baseball is a baseball for the blind and visually impaired. It was invented in 1976, actually by some Southwestern Bell employees, retirees, who figured out how to take the handset and make a loud noise to put it inside of a softball, and the game was created. So it's basically played by 6 blind and visually impaired players. You have a sighted pitcher and a sighted catcher and some sighted spotters, but everyone, whether you have any vision or not, wears a blindfold, and it's a lot of fun. I'm part of the Gateway Archers. We're a brand new team to the National Beatball Association. Mind's Eye Radio is a local nonprofit that helped us make this happen and is supporting us. The biggest difference in beat ball versus regular baseball as far as the batter is concerned is the first thing is the pitcher is on your team, and their job is to learn your swing and to basically pitch the ball into your bat. Once you've hit the ball into play, you then have to listen. And there's a buzzer on what would traditionally be first base and what would traditionally be third base. And you have to identify which buzzer is buzzing, and you need to run and get there before a fielder fields the ball. If you can get there, it's a run. If the ball's fielded before you get there, it's an out.
My capabilities, besides my vision, is still there. It is more of a testimony for other people, other children that's coming up that went through what I went through, that you can still do things, you can still have fun and still not be able to see that well, and it shouldn't stop you from doing anything that you want to do. So it does mean a lot to me, and my children can watch Dad still be active, so it gives them a goal to say, hey, Dad's still doing it. Dad's still able out here and having fun and just being able to be active. So
I enjoy every minute of it. I try to get as sweaty and dirty as I can. It's really a blessing to be able to play this game. This team, we're all people who live in the St. Louis metro area, and I think that's meaningful because a lot of the other teams in the NBBA have players from all over the country that just sort of come together for tournaments, and they're not together on a regular basis. They're from all over. And so I think what we've got going on here is pretty special.
For a blind person, there's no other experience that can compare to it. Just being on a team, being out, being physical, exercising, be able to run open free on a field without anybody needing help from anybody, being able to hit the ball and run full speed to a base and compete and have your team cheer for you. There's no way to describe it. You have to experience it.
My name's Tom Lang, also known as the Hat Man. When the Cardinals opened a new stadium, I made a hat, the birds in the new nest, and the Post-Dispatch, and everybody just went crazy over it. And I've just been making a hat with a theme every year since for the Cardinals. Once you have a theme, then you got to find the pieces. Then the pieces have to be in perspective, relationship to the hat, a good ratio to the hat. Sometimes the creativity gets out of hand, and they get heavy, they get awkward. Ozzie Smith has a clothes hanger running through it that pushes on my head and gives me headaches. The bobblehead hat has about 12 bobbleheads on it, and as I walk, they all go crazy, and they're a 4 aspirin hat by the end of the day. Back in 2018, I went to Fred Bird's Hall of Fame induction to the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. Greg Marichek and Robin Graham from the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame were there, and they approached me and told me I was the nominee for the selection for the 2018 Superfan Award. I was shocked. They had only done it the year before, and so I was the second inductee as a Superfan. And, you know, to be in the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, unbelievable. You know, in making the hats, the creativity is important, but the enjoyment's what it's all about. To see the fans, see the kids, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. The kids are standing down there just staring at the hat, pointing at it. And when you're walking by the seats in the stadium and the fans' reaction, I get goosebumps from some of them. I mean, they're just so appreciative to see the artwork that's on them and the creativity that they're all about. And to me, that's probably the biggest enjoyment on it.
You can find the stories featured in today's show along with past episodes and more at hecmedia.org/spotlight.
Gussie Busch was truly the king of beers, and although he passed away 30 years ago, the Cardinals are still polishing his image.
I like him to look good for the opening day.
Don Wiegand is a sculptor based in Chesterfield, and in 1982 he was hired by St. Louis University to create a life-sized bust of August A. Busch Jr., the larger-than-life beer baron who also owned the Cardinals.
It's a great honor. I mean, I loved Mr. Busch. I loved the city. He was a great man.
The Cardinals liked the sculpture so much. In 1989, the team commissioned Wiegand to create this larger version for Busch Stadium.
I had it bolted to the floor so hard at the previous stadium, anytime a truck drove by, Gussie's head started bobbing. So the way we actually had to fix it was we had to put 4 hockey pucks and put those underneath as bumpers, and that absorbed the shock so his head didn't bob anymore.
And while that was a one-time fix, Wiegand and a team of volunteers come back every year on the day before opening day to give Mr. Busch a makeover, giving special attention to the parts meant to be extra shiny.
Carbon monoxide and all the cars driving and the pollution hurts bronze. It changes the color. It'll naturally turn green, but the tricks I do with most of my pieces, I do highlights which complement parts like, for instance, the cane, the collar. It makes it a little more contemporary, but it gives it a little more pizzazz.
Wiegand was told by Gussie's secretary he should expect Mr. Busch would only pose for the sculpture one time. Boy, was she wrong.
Over 2 years, he came out over 21 times. He sat there for usually an hour and a half. We'd drink some beer, we'd hang out. It was great.
Wiegand's team of volunteers bring back Gussie's luster using a combination of special compounds and everyday products. They even wax it with shoe polish.
I asked Mr. Busch, what symbolizes your life that I can incorporate into this piece? He said the Ram's cane, the Legion of Merit pin, the Anheuser pin, and of course the ring. And I said, Mr. Busch, do you want your Cardinals ring or do you want your wedding ring? He said, I want the wedding ring, Don. I said, smart man. The Anheuser pin, that was Gussie's grandfather's. And I always like to let the family members come in and put the sparkle back on that.
And one of the Busch family regulars is Blake Valentine, Gussie Busch's grandson. He was only 4 years old when Gussie died. So the statue, in a way, has become a stand-in for the grandfather he barely knew.
I've been doing it for the last 6 years. Every time I see this statue, I think of him, and it's so great to see him for every game. And I always rub his hands for good luck.
Most visitors to Busch Stadium probably walk right past Mr. Busch without giving him a second thought. After all, he died in 1989. But Don Wiegand knows a bright, shiny object will draw some people's attention, which is why he keeps coming back every spring to gussy up Gussie.
I think it's important that we do continue the heritage of teaching what do these people do to encourage those folks, those young folks, to think, believe in yourself and you can do it, but you have to do something. We need to commemorate people like this.
Next week, the final 20 years of Michelangelo's unusually long life. A mural artist finds a new passion in creating labyrinths. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.